Welcome back to the Watchtower database. My name is Brian of Chamber of the Wraith, and today I am going to be revisiting this series thingy-majiggy in order to have just a damn good time reliving, revisiting, reviewing all of the characters in Injustice 2, which to this date I think is NetherRealm Studios' best game to date. The reason for that being is it has the largest roster, is the most fun to play, and I mean, it can get grindy at times, but ultimately the grind is just optional. Before we begin, I do want to note that characters in this game have different stats, even if you take gear out of account. So, with that being said, I will be doing tournament mode, but the damage calculations will be estimations, because what might be 10% on Batman might be 9% on Swamp Thing, or 12% on Supergirl. It's an approximation, because we don't have the percentage style health, thanks to that damn defense stat, like would be expected for a Street Fighter, for instance. But without further ado, let's just jump in and talk about the Dark Knight and the Caped Wonder. These characters are the characters that you're going to jump onto first, and that will be important. And that is important information to know, because if you jump on that crusade first, or rather, because these are your first characters, if you're picking up Injustice 2, you'll want to know things about each character. And why not start with the most iconic characters, right? The thing about Injustice 2, I should note, is that Injustice 2 actually is a legacy game, meaning that the inputs and attack strategies of returning characters are basically the same as before. But because of that, I'm not going to spend too much time reviewing these attacks, but I will be talking about things that might be different for each of them. And of course that includes just very quickly tagging attacks that don't really do much of anything and noting what they can do. Alright, so first up is low jab, which is a very fast low jab, as one might expect from Batman. It's a 7-frame low jab, so jib, jab, jab. There's no frame data analyzer, so I'm not going to give much about frame data, but it is worth noting that pokes in this game can be special canceled into faster special attacks. So you can do both of Batman's fastest buttons are 7 frames, but because the poke is mid, you can do something like this. Hold on. Let's try this. There we go. Not much damage, but it could get you some distance. Then we have Rising Gauntlet, which is this uppercut. And in Injustice, uppercuts can start combos, so you can do something like crouch, uppercut, and then get a combo going. So let's try this. There you go. And that's just an example of a uppercut combo. Then we have Broken Strike. Standing heavy attack. It's a mid and can be special canceled. So if you happen to land this, then you can get some combos going. Batman generally has only had one major change to his arsenal, so I'm actually just going to very quickly change it and focus it on the back 3 and both of his throws, because that's about all that has changed from his basic attacks. Oh, and I should talk about these two. First up is Kryptonite Strike, which is the replacement for his advancing kick from Injustice 1. He doesn't quite go as far, but it does do the same thing as you would expect. It's a combo extender. So, and this bad boy will trigger wall transitions as well. Then we have both of his throws. Both of them come off of the Grapple now instead of the explosive Batarang. And Batman is just shy of 1 forward dash away from the opponent both times he uses this. And because Batman's forward dash is really good, actually I just noticed that the forward throw leaves him slightly closer. or slightly further away. You can use this to get a little bit of distance from rushdown characters, but be close enough to where you can dash in and begin your own offense. Now let's talk about two more universal mechanics, the roll escape and the air escape. Spending 1 bar of meter, you can become temporarily invincible to projectiles and either side switch with the opponent or advance from full screen. This costs 1 bar, but if I have, say, a really zony Superman trying to do his zony shenanigans, as you can see, I can roll right in. And I'm completely invincible to that. But only when it starts up. But as you can see, as I'm coming out of the roll, I'm also punishable. So I have to time it right. Otherwise, I'm going to get caught. Now, what do you do if an opponent is launching you and going for combos? Well, you have two options. You can air escape, which will allow you to escape from a combo, or you can also air escape by pressing up, which puts you upwards and it leaves you available to attack closer to the opponent. However, the away air escape is generally better for getting back. You'll notice that it costs 2 bars to perform either air escape, so it's a fairly expensive tool in this game. But you have to be careful of one thing: getting chased down. You can get chased down by this, and as you can see, that was a cross-up punish. I was still recovering. Let's try this again. I have to be ready to block as soon as I hit the ground, basically. Otherwise, faster reaching buttons can actually touch me. See that? That was a punish for me trying to escape. So while this was basically, I'm guessing, the prototype for the breakaway, but this is how the breakaway should have been, at least in my opinion. Being able to use some meter to get out of a combo, but it being punishable is generally better, I think, than just armor. You know what I mean? Because then you wouldn't have to deal with armor break shenanigans and all of that. You could just chase down your opponent and punish them for trying to air escape, or escape from a combo that an overeager opponent is trying to set up. Now, let's talk about things that Batman has as far as strengths. Not too many of these will have changed, but it is still worth noting to repeat in case you have not seen the Batman episode of the first Watchtower showcase, or you're just getting into Injustice for the first time and you're like, what can Batman do? First up is Injustice, a fast string that leaves the opponent standing that can be special cancelled. You would generally use this as your punish, and if you extend with meter, you can keep combos going. Vengeance has an overhead, and it pops up, but similarly, you can use it to extend combos, as you can see. Next up is Mind Games, which comes off of a similar punish and launches the opponent, but it's a low instead, while the second hit is a mid, giving your opponent time to see the, quote, mix coming. You do this, you can get your combo, so there you go. Oh, and before I forget, here are Batman's jumping attacks. We have his knee, which is really fast and great for trading in the air. His big boot kick, which is a godlike cross-up. One of the best things Batman has is a really good cross-up. And his other flip kick, which knocks down and also acts as a really good cross-up, as you can see here. Now let's go back to Tricky Bat. This is an attack that involves the Batarang, which I don't believe... Yeah, it doesn't come out on whiff, but it will come out on block, allowing Superman to block this. But note how far away he is. Now, Tricky Bat I don't believe is safe. Oh, it actually is. It's -2. Whereas Mind Games is -14, meaning that Superman will be able to punish this. Injustice is safe. Oh, it's not safe. My mistake. It's unsafe, my bad. If you go for Injustice, which is kind of funny. But Vengeance is +6 because of the Axe Kick. But because it's 21 frames, you might be able to get a faster jab to punish it. Then we have High Tech, which comes off of a really swift low. This is a replacement of a similar string in Injustice 1, where it's just a stylistic change. It's basically the same afterwards. It's still neutral on block, and is good at resetting the neutral. Darkness allows combos to be started off of his low. However, Darkness is unsafe on block. Then there is Caped Crusader, which is also safe, but it's a launcher. The second hit is a high, so you can crouch block, and I believe you might actually, Superman might actually, or Batman might actually whiff this. Will he actually whiff it? Hold on. Stance. Okay, so he will still block it, because I believe if you just hold down to block, it'll be just fine. Then we have, but with Crusader, Caped Crusader, you can use this to start off combos. See why a lot of people like Injustice 2 more than MK11? Batman alone, without meter, has 5 separate ways, at least, to start combos. And that's just in his strings. We haven't even talked about his trait yet. Next is Stay Down, which has an overhead at the end and is going to be your general combo ender because it does a lot of damage. Certainly more damage than Wing Avenger, and it gets Batman some distance. And more critically, it keeps Batman safe. Because I don't believe Superman is going to be able to jump out of that. So I'm going to take control of Superman very quickly, just to see... Hold on. It's a Come on. Yeah, that's the only tricky thing, is that I could jump out of it. So, let's see. And I can even forward dash to follow him if I'm expecting it. And then punish him. Sort of. He'll still be safe. But what? As you can see, I can jump and get out of there because of its gap. Whereas I don't believe that is actually the case with or Vengeance. Yeah. Alright, so it's not interruptible like I thought it was. But that's part of the best part. That's part of the best thing about labbing in the first place. Back to Batman. Now the thing about Winged Avenger is it's also safe on block. But you're not going to see this string too often because while it's a decent ender, it also it isn't very high damaging. It's more so for the fact that forward 2 is a great advancing mid. Now let's talk about special moves. And that is quite a sizable list, and unfortunately I can't really tag meter any meter burn options, so we have to work with what we got. And yeah, and we'll talk about character power and then super move. Okay, so first up is straight grapple, which is what you would expect. It's kind of the opposite of Scorpion Spear. You hook the opponent and then towards the opponent you fly. This attack is horrifically unsafe on block, especially at close range, so please, for the love of God, do not throw this out if you know the opponent is going to block it. You know it's just going to be trouble. Then there's Sky Grapple, which can actually hit standing opponents, but treat it like an anti-air, because that's what it's for. Catch an opponent and do that. Both of the grapples can be amplified to extend combos, but only once per combo. Hold on. Hang on. I can make this work. Come on. Work for me, would you please? Oh, I know what I can do. Yeah. I'm supposed to press back to, not forward to. But as you can see, the grapples can only amplify combos once per bar, per combo. So I can do something like this. And continue a combo with both the grapples. And get some really nice damage. But just be mindful that I spent 2 bars there. Now, Justice does give you 4 bars to play with, and you can build up bar pretty quickly, but still, just be mindful. Then we have Batarang, which is his traditional projectile. In the last game, he threw 2 of these things, and it would break armor. Now you have to spend the bar to break armor, but Batman gains the benefit of the fact that he's going backwards every time he throws it, which means it becomes a progressively better zoning tool as he backs up. However, the meter burn window is not full screen. Once he kind of resets the neutral, he can't make the thing explode at full screen, so be mindful of that. Then there's Up Batarang, which is an anti-air Batarang, and on Amplify, it pops the opponent up for combos. So you can do something like that, or let's say you catch him off the mid, and then potentially go for a combo that way. So catch him off the mid, and then be able to extend combos that way. Even better if you can get all 3 of the combo extending special attacks in one fell swoop, like this. And that basically cost 2.5 bars because I was building up meter every time I hit them. But note that the damage is actually similar to this. So pick and choose your battles. If you want to spend the meter, great. But generally, you just want to go for 2 per combo just so you can save some meter for air escapes or roll escapes. Then we have Scatter Bombs, which is the upward Batarang input, but in the air. This used to be all it can do. You would just jump in and throw out the scatter bombs. But then you can amplify it to cancel into his glide stance, which is very good because look at that. Look at that. That is, if you want to really go all out, you can do stuff like this. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. I'm getting overexcited. Hold on. Oh, so close. But you can get the idea, especially if you got them in the corner. That was all of the meter, but it was still a really sweet combo. Then we have Slide Kick. This is Batman's invincible wake-up. And in case you're curious, yes, you can perform normal special attacks on wake-up. Just like you could... This was the last game where NetherRealm allowed this, basically, because they went with a completely different wake-up system in Mortal Kombat 11, where you can do different wake-ups, delay it. Hold on. I'm trying to get this right, because I know you can also tech roll. And also wake up backdash. And of course, as always, you can wake up special move. In this case, Slide Kick is the invincible option. So let's say Superman mistimes this basic combo.
See how I did that? See, I went for Batarang on Wake Up, and I got blown up for it. But I can either roll, or Wake Up Punish with the Slide, which is invincible. However, it is unsafe on block, and raw damage is not that great. But, as you can see, the damage you get is actually not that bad, especially on Amplify. And there's going to be another cool use for this that we could talk about later. Finally is Cape Counter, which replaces the old Cape Parry from Injustice 1. It knocks the opponent back and doesn't focus on, and is a completely new animation, otherwise it's nothing to write home about. Also worth noting is that the attack is 4 frames and doesn't have an amplify, which is good. Hold on. This is a good way to steal a win. Then we have what used to be considered part of his trait, but is now considered a special move on its own, his double jump and his glide. Now, double jump is just extra aerial mobility so that you can stay in the air long enough to not get clobbered. But if you use the glide, you have a few options out of it. You can go for the dive kick, which allows for combos, and at certain angles will look like an ambiguous cross-up, so you can potentially see where the troubles lie. But you also have the elbow slam, which knocks the opponent down and sends them sliding. I think this is a hard knockdown, so they can't roll either. So it's a really good knockdown indeed. Now, let's talk about his character trait, Summon Bats, which is what Batman is basically known for. Batman is able to summon these little robot bat drones, and on the surface they don't seem to do much. Press the trait again to fire them. They're little homing projectiles that don't do much on their own. But where they're really handy is being able to do things that you can't normally do. For instance, if I time this right, I can actually combo off of slide. It's not worth it for the meter, but supposing that my opponent is respecting me a little too much and not expecting the slide, you can see where that could come in handy. But there's also this. Extending the damage of combos. See, that was 303, whereas okay, that was 324, so slightly less damage. But you can use this to kind of plug up gaps. So let's say Superman is blocking, which is something he should be doing. Let's take over something unsafe by mistake. Now I can use the bats to keep myself safe so that I don't have to worry about getting punished. See? I'm now able to basically save myself. The bats take 3 seconds to recover per bat, but once you have a bat, you're basically safe to be able to turn any previously unsafe string into a safe one, which is one of the main uses for this. And you can also, again, use it to extend combos in ways that aren't normally possible. So, for instance, hold on. I missed it, but that should help prove the concept. You can also, if you have all 3 bats, encircle yourself with the bat drones in order to basically create a shield around yourself that allows you to basically launch the opponent. And if the opponent is overeager and rushes in, they get popped up for a full combo. It costs all 3 bats, but you can try for this multiple times without fail until it hits. Finally, we're going to take a look at Batman's Bat of Gotham super move. It's minus 29 on block and 17 frames, but it's what you'd expect out of a super move. It's mid, it does really good damage, and is a good way to close out the match if you're willing to use a super move. However, because of how important meter is in Injustice, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to see super moves. But the fact that it basically did 40% is nothing to sneeze at. And that basically does it for Batman. Next up, we're going to take a look at Superman.